we're here in, I believe it's Berrien Springs, is that right?
Yep, Berrien Springs, Michigan.
Great, and we're here with Wally Maurer, and you are the owner of Domaine Berrien Cellars, correct?
That is correct. Well, right now we're just pressing our last red, our Cabernet Franc. It's been in the tank 20 days now on its skins, and it's time to get it off the skins and press it, and then we'll put that juice in another tank, let it set for 10, 14 days to clarify, finish its malolactic fermentation, and then we'll start getting it prepared for barrels.
Okay. Is this the end of it then? Is that the last you have?
That is the last. It's another milestone as being a winemaker, and it's kind of fun to have. We can put the press away for the year and all the equipment associated with it.
He says that with a big smile, folks.
Right, right. And there's still a lot of deer season left, so I'm excited.
So you can get out, actually.
Right.
Wow.
It was sort of a multi-tier effort. We bought the property in 1992. My wife Katie's father, Tom Fricke, we were home winemakers, and we realized that we needed to control our own raw material. We were making pretty good wines from other people's grapes, but in order to step up to the next level, kind of where our palates were going, we needed to control the fruit. So we bought this piece of property in 1992. It was an 80-acre tart cherry farm, and we started taking out the tart cherries and putting in some of the more fragile European noble grape varieties. And kind of at that time, that was still a little bit pioneering for some of the varieties that are becoming oh so common now in Michigan. Back to your question you said earlier, we opened finally to the public for the winery in 2001. So it took a while to start to get our vineyards going. We had regular day jobs. We kind of did this on the weekends, on holidays. It was more a hobby up until 2001, where we decided to cash in our corporate jobs and give it a go. The wines that we were making were tasting pretty darn good, and we just needed to see if we could share them with other people, if they would find the beauty in them, and of course give us their money for them. And that was the true test.
How scary was that for you?
It was pretty scary. But the way I looked at it, I was still in the middle of my lifetime, I guess. And what's the worst case scenario? I can go back to my cubicle, go back to traveling, go back and do what I went to school to do. But there was never a better opportunity than to get the vineyard going at that time. And at that time, Michigan wine was just starting to boom. So it was a scary point. The way my wife and I looked at it, Katie and I looked at it, was we could always go back to our corporate jobs if this didn't pan out. And at that time, Michigan wine was still just an emerging market. I mean, it's still an emerging market. But at that time, we were really ramping up. Michigan wine was getting traction. We, as an industry, were making better and better wines, and now we were making them from the grape varieties that people wanted to drink. The 28 million people that are associated with Chicago, Detroit, and Indianapolis that are all one-tank trips that all come in and visit us and drink our wine and buy our wines. It is a big risk in the Midwest growing these fragile noble grape varieties, these vinifera grape cultivars. However, as we become more experienced wine growers, we're able to do some things. I don't want to say to defeat Mother Nature. It's more able to work with Mother Nature with these varieties and in harmony. And so there's some techniques that we have to do that people in the West Coast do not have to do, but we're willing to do that to have the opportunity to grow things like Syrah and Viognier and Merlot and some of these more tender, winter tender grape varieties. However, we didn't go into it completely naive. Our vineyards here are on the highest point in the county. I'm 4 miles off Lake Michigan. My vineyards are all south-facing slopes. I drop a little over 40 feet from front to back. I have 4 accredited soils on the property that are all conducive to wine grape growing. And Lake Michigan doesn't freeze over. So this little anomaly maybe 4. Some people say 8 miles, but I've seen it doesn't quite get 8. This little anomaly is the reason why we can do this. And it's not just wine grapes, which I'm excited enough about. It's that we are the fruit belt. Berrien County, Michigan is one of the most diverse fruit growing counties outside of Orange County, California.
I had no idea.
Yeah. Until I met Tom, Katie's father, MD 2020 was my wine of choice. And I missed as a young man because my parents had quite a collection of some of the old 70s Napa Valley stuff. And if I had only known, I would have got my hot hands into that in high school because we were able to drink in high school. In the good old days. So I'm thinking grapes and wine grapes, but let's get into strawberries and peaches and the tree fruits and blueberries and things like that. But it has been the fruit basket for Chicago since the Depression. So it's very important what we're doing here in the soils and the lake, moderate our climate, that allow us a little bit more the opportunity to do it. Again, working with Mother Nature as opposed to against her. Yes, this American viticultural area here, an AVA, is called the Lake Michigan Shore. And it encompasses 21 wineries that are part of our wine trail. And it extends from the Indiana border on the western edge, kind of the Michigan City area of Lake Michigan. And it extends up to the Kalamazoo River north of us here in Saugatuck. And then, of course, it extends out to Paw Paw, back down to Indiana, and that encompasses these nice moraines that the glaciers left for us, these knolls, these great soils. And again, the further away from the lake you get, it gets a little bit more dicey for, winter. Yes, we can do things to help with that, but more importantly, spring frost. We can't mound up snow over the vines in April. It's already, we're kind of at Mother Nature's mercy. Right. But really up until yesterday morning when we were cold again, I still had all my leaf structure on my front vineyard.
Really? Wow.
So last year when I picked, or 2 years ago in 2016, I picked my reds in the first week of November. And that's sort of like now.
Yeah, right.
And we can hold the leaves. I mean, this is... if this doesn't show you the lake effect that we have here, then nothing will. But all you need is a little bit of cold air to blow in off that lake. That same air that blows in off the lake is what keeps us a little cooler during the growing season. It's also what helps us have the diurnal shift in the fall to get the warm days and the cool nights to really round out the flavors of the fruit for the wine and really let that wine shine.
One thing about winemakers is,
Only one thing?
Yeah, only one thing. Other than being a retailer, wholesaler, craftsman, all that kind of thing, you're also part weatherman. I mean, really, are you one of those kind of guys who's really focused on the weather as well?
Yeah, we look at a lot of different reports and we try to make our head. I mean, it's really, you watch the news at night, it's all guess, right? So we try to take the information that we hear from trusted sources and then kind of put it through our own filter and make some of our own guesses. And probably the most important guess that we make, that we have to work with, we bring in a very conservative crop load. In order to get the phenolic ripeness of a lot of these grapes we're growing, kind of outside of their zip code, we have to watch our crop load very carefully. So we practice something called a green harvest that happens in July. That's halfway through the growing season. We'll go out and drop 40-50% of the fruit that's there to the ground. So the remaining clusters can be riper later in September. And that's when you really have to kind of hedge your bet, because you don't have a crystal ball and you don't know what the rest of July and August and September are going to do. But what you do know is that you're halfway, and either you can make it or you're not going to make it at all. And it really helps us make our crop load proper. 18 was an 18-round knockdown, drag-out fight that went to split decision. We won. I have the belt.